And I believe you said, I don't know if it's verbatim, but something along the lines of, I'm going to teach you how to make money as a lawyer. What would you recommend for them to get clients?
So I still strongly believe that the best way to get clients is.
Welcome to the Scales of Success podcast. I'm here today with Bob Simon, and Bob has a laundry list of things that he's involved in. I'll do my best to intro him, Bob, but if I mess anything up, please feel free to take over. So Bob owns the Simon Law Group. That's number one. Looks like you started that in 2009 with your twin brother, correct? Scale that to 8 figures.
Yep.
Scale that to 8 figures. You now have Mardi Gras, which is a conference and event for doctors and law firms. You have the Justice Team Network, right? And you've got a series of content that goes along with it. You've got Justice HQ, which is a part of that as well, if I'm not mistaken. And you've got the Attorney Referral Network as well. Looks like you also invest in some potentially cannabis stuff. Mm-hmm. Anything I missed?
I mean, I also have a video game company. I forgot about till last week that we were doing some stuff with that. No, but most of the time I'm like a full-time dad, juggling all these companies and still having a trial schedule. I mean, we're filming this on May 31st, and I started a 3-week trial on Monday. So it's like, the struggle of being in trial 9 to 5 and still, being the entrepreneur of the other companies.
So
it's a balance.
So let's start there, because you have 3 kids. That's the most important part. I left that. I'm a new dad myself, so I understand that. Only one though. 3 is we do a whole podcast just on that. But talking about how you split your time, because that's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, we work with lawyers, law firms, and I struggle to get them on a simple Zoom call to talk about their campaigns. I mean, how do you balance your time? How do you find time to do stuff like this? Are you mainly focused on the law firm? How do you split that all up?
Well, I think you just have to be very, very intentional. I think time is probably the most precious asset that you have. And I've never billed per hour in my life, but I never think of it as a per hour widget. It's just what value or happiness can you drive at any given time. So like for me personally, my kids, we get off to school around 8 in the morning. So my fixed work day, like if I have scheduled meetings, it does not start till 8:30. And I get started right after I drop off the kids. I'm ready to go. By the time it's 10 a.m., I might have had like 6 or 7 Zooms already just to drive traffic. Just depends on the day. And then usually my kids get picked up around 2:30. So from about 2 to 3:30, I usually block off no meetings so that I can pick the kids up. My wife or I can, shuttle them around. They have after school events, we can do those things. And then I usually don't set any meetings between 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. That's like after, dinner time with the kids, and that's getting them to bed. So within those blocks, though, I'm working my ass off, like in between there. And sometimes it's more driven for the law firm, the stuff that I got to deal with. And most of my day, though, is now dealt with the tech companies and the media network. It's a lot of what I do and the mentorship stuff. But again, it's very, very intentional. Like I was with a couple of my siblings earlier this morning, because we also run our companies together, just meetings about stuff. And all of us, we found, have a big whiteboard calendar in our garages that we all did this independently that has our family schedule on there. So when we walk in, we could see who's responsible for what. And then 2 of us have what's called Skylight. It's like this digital calendar that has different color coding that we keep in near the kitchen. So everybody in the house knows what events are coming up, who's responsible for picking up kids, who has, like, if I have a trial coming up or a work conference, that people know that we might have to schedule, some nannies to help if I'm out of town or if my wife's out of town for her companies. But it's very forward thinking. Like, dude, sometimes my whole year is set out for conference wise or travel well in advance, like a year in advance.
Yeah, I see. I mean, the way that I found out about you was, like, we were talking about Chris Stryer a little before. He's a friend of mine, also in the space. And I've seen your face pop up in a lot of content. I've seen your face pop up at a lot of events as a speaker. It seems like you have your calendar pretty full with events. Yeah.
Yep. And, it's hard to say no because I like doing those things. I never ask, for money. I pay my own way there. I just love giving other people the opportunity to be kind of where I am now. I think if everybody's at the same place, the same level of happiness occurs, and everybody can kind of hang out. But it's like I got asked, because I've been doing a lot of AI talks for state bars on how you could use it effectively for lawyers. And it's just like I'm getting asked every week for another. We talked offline, like in North Carolina, the North Carolina Consumer Bar asked me to go to their thing, actually in the foothills of the mountains there in November. But then I'm already speaking to the one in Utah who asked and I'm in Austin for Clio, and it's all in the same week. It's like, I might be able to only do one, maybe two, but you can't do all three.
Yeah.
Just because usually my schedule, I don't like to be away from home on the weekends. Because when you have kids, like that's sports, it's birthday parties, it's the hanging out time. So my conferences are usually like one night, maybe 2 nights, but during the week, get in, get out, meet who you got to meet with, do your thing, and get home to your family.
So in an ad, I think it was actually for Chris's event, PimCon, if I'm not mistaken, I saw you in the ad, and I believe you said, I don't know if it's verbatim, but something along the lines of, I'm going to teach you how to make money as a lawyer. What would you recommend for them to get clients?
So I still strongly believe that the best way to get clients is a word of mouth. You have an instant trust factor, right? That's when somebody comes to you and looks for you specifically, it's a higher conversion rate. We all know that, rather than like somebody doing a Google search generically. And the best referrals for me, like my whole company, my law firm was built on business-to-business referrals. So other lawyers referring me a case where we would give them a percentage of the fee. Like the case I'm trying next week, we have like a 50-50 deal. I front all costs. I do all the work, right? But that's my specialty to be able to do. That's kind of why we created the marketplace attorney share, to be able to do that at a lightning speed. But now lawyers, I tell you right now, I coach a lot of lawyers, they should be concentrating on building their brand and doing things that are free to be able to get in front of networks of folks that can refer you buckets of cases. So if you're doing, like criminal defense, you should have a social media page and people know that you do criminal defense, that you're easy to find, it's not private, you have a call to action number or link so people can contact you, and you're targeting folks that can give you buckets of cases. Where can you get buckets of cases as a criminal defense lawyer? Maybe it's from bail bondsman people. Maybe it's from other lawyers whose clients get in trouble. Like us in the consumer personal injury space, believe it or not, our clients get in trouble all the time, and we need felonies expunged. We need people for DUIs, or hopefully not murders, but you never know. But that's who they should be targeting, and that's all free. It's digital networking, I call it, where you can slide into people's DMs to introduce yourself. I've referred people a lot of cases because of relationships I built with them over social media, just by them reaching out. That shit's all free. Then you do a bunch of selfie videos, like educating people what you do. That's all free. And eventually, I think the thing that probably converts the most is if you take that pre-educational content that you're doing, filming with your frigging iPhone, if you wanted to convert those to ads on social media and target lawyer groups, or again, those people that are giving you buckets of cases, you can do that. Those have a very high conversion rate. Again, it's going to you as a brand. Those are very low cost. Those are free to do. I think if you want to get into the paid space, paid like super paid digital SEO, PPC, LSAs, I think you should have a specialist do that for you. It's a completely different ballgame. And as a lawyer, unless you have a decent sized budget, it's a hard pool to swim in.
Yeah, I got a bunch of follow-ups on that. I actually just filmed a video last week that was talking about the proper relationships between, an agency or consultant and a law firm. And I think one of the reasons why a lot of lawyers struggle with agencies is because they take all their chips and they're like, take it, agency. And, we both know that not all agencies are qualified or capable of doing that, but there's certain things that the firm has to own, and that's content. Like, you cannot outsource content. If you don't know how to come up with content, it's kind of a problem in itself, because it should almost be a steady stream of consciousness flow. It's almost kind of like, what are you doing on a daily basis? But there's something that you said I want to ask you about. So you said that targeting, right? So like you're actually suggesting that they target other lawyers with content, because I think that's also a struggle too. Like, we do a lot of meta ad campaigns, and in the injury or accident space, for example, like how do you target somebody that's been in an accident, right? It runs.
But that's so again, I'm not targeting people in an accident. I'm saying targeting other lawyers. For me, it's B2B. So the more lawyers that see me in my content, like the Justice Team Network, for instance, what I do, and I tell people it's no secret, is I'll geofence a conference and have them see my face all the time with like the fun clips of the shows that I've done, the educational clips of the stuff that I've done, with a call to action. Now, maybe only 1 or 2 of those convert to a relationship or a case, but they come in buckets, and it's not that expensive to do. You could spend $500 to run these ads targeted at a conference, and you will be the guy known for whatever you wanted you to be known for. And lawyers, if you're starting a brand, make sure it's something that you want to do, right? If you want to be known for something, and make sure it's lucrative. Like, I know lawyers starting stuff out of law school, and they're like, what should my brand be? I was like, just be like the workplace death injury guy. I mean, just create content of something that it's very lucrative that you could just create content for it. People are like, oh, I got a workplace injury. I'll call that guy because I saw his content and remembered it. I mean, it only takes one of those to like change your career.
So Lottie Graph, for example, would you say that that's this strategy playing out at the highest level of scale, right? Because I was on the website and it's targeted specifically for doctors and lawyers in the space, right?
100%. 100%. What we're doing this year at Lottie Graph is I'm big on building community and personal relationships, and that's kind of been what we wanted to do with that conference. And we did one thing called the Bourbon Approved Tour. I have one brand where we just drink whiskey for fun with lawyers, but we once took everybody on the tour of the Kentucky Trail, the Bourbon Trail. We did it once in Nashville. And with all just people doing their education on the buses to and from the distilleries, and was the best community building I still think we've done. A lot of relationships built from that. So now what we're doing with Lottie Graph is we're going to have it mostly all workshops where people can pick different categories that they want to learn on. So say there'd be one for marketing, one for business operations, one for trial work and development, one for straight litigation, there's health and wellness, and I forget the last one. But you can pick which things you want to do, and there'll be like 20 to 30 people in a workshop with an instructor that knows what the heck they're doing, and with a vendor in the space that knows what the heck they're doing. You know who's coming in, and you're going to be able to actually help your specific issues grow, not talking at you, but talking with you, right, through your issues. And I think that's what a lot of conferences miss the mark, is there's literally people up there talking about the same shit every single time, every year. It's like, dude, I just want somebody to sit down and talk to me, with me, and help me specifically. And I want to develop a conference around that and make it really fun, because we have the music festival still at the end of the night. I'm trying to do a wrestling ring too. I'm trying to do a wrestling ring on one night, throw some people around, suplexes and stuff like that. So
that'd be a good time. Yeah, I mean, dude, the amount of legal conferences, I know a lot of people in the space, Maria from Law Ring too, and like, she's awesome. She's at so many conferences. I'm like, these conferences are nuts. Like, what are they? I just assume, because I'm an introvert, I make my money other ways, and networking is not my strong suit. But I just would have to assume that like the content of those conferences is no longer of value to people. It's purely about the networking opportunities at those conferences. I mean, am I incorrect in assuming that?
I think you are 100% correct, but I think a lot of people coming in for the first time are trying to get there for an education or put their foot in the door, but you got to have intent. And I've been on Maria's show and actually talking about this specifically, is go to a conference with intent. Like if I get a list of all the attendees at the conference, I will literally go through it, put notes about every single person. We used to do lookbooks of who they were, see who you want to talk to and why. Like, I have 25 lawyers at my firm. We have a lot in the tech company that are, engineers and such. When we go to conferences, you better be there with a purpose. And I want to know who you talked to, what you were, because we incentivize all of our lawyers to bring in business. So you should be out there making those relationships, those personal networking relationships. And it should start with a lead-in. Like, you should know who you're talking to, stalk their social media. Another really good thing that people can do is what we're doing right now, is if you have your own podcast or talk show, it's a very good in to be in front of people that you want to not only learn from, but be in the same network with. Like when I started doing the Justice Team podcast and Bourbon Approved was like, hey, I want to drink whiskey with new people to understand what they are in the industry, and also invite people that you want to be in their network with. And some of those people that have been guests on the show, I didn't know before. Now I'm very good friends with them, right? So that's kind of what happens, but all with intent.
Yeah, 100%. So our agency, just for context, we specialize in acquisition, right? Search first agency. And the reason that is, it's not because we love SEO or LSAs or paid search or anything. In fact, we branched off in many other platforms as well. But the challenge is that, or the reason why search lends so well for lawyers with an agency point of view in terms of relationship, is that it's hands-free. You don't have to do anything. The agency can take care of everything for you. Now, ultimately, it gets to the point with our law firms where they want to do more. And I tell them, I can't help you if you don't create video. I can't. There needs to be some sort of that video is an asset that we can then take. We can advertise it. We can build funnels. We can do all sorts of different things that you mentioned with it as well. But the pushback that we always get is they get excited about it because they know it's kind of like one of the last blue ocean strategies, we will, for a law firm. And it's because of the fact that so few law firms are actually willing to create video because of time constraints, because of personal biases, whatever it is. So like, what advice do you have? How are you able to create so much video content? And yeah, like what advice would you have for lawyers to actually put something together that's scalable and fits with their schedule?
So, remember, you can always create content in buckets. Like, you can have one day where you're going to bang out 5 or 6 podcasts, for instance, or interviews or selfie videos. You could have just somebody holding you accountable to say, hey, we need more content. Can you shoot a bunch of X, Y, Z? podcasts are good ways to do it because that lives evergreen. Like what we're doing right now, you could have it long form content and put it on. Yeah, you can put it on X, you can put it on YouTube, you can put it on Instagram, but then you have shorts, like, and then you can repurpose those and put them everywhere. And then you could turn what we're doing right now into a blog. You can have it turn into a PDF into a blog. Like these are ways that you can use what we're doing right now for many, many purposes. So I tell lawyers, like, if you're going to do something, save it. It should be living evergreen forever. And you should always convert it to turn to a blog so you can use it for SEO scoring as well.
You just started an agency, Bob. What are you doing?
Well, shit. People ask me that all the time.
You're not. Your next venture.
Yeah. I mean, I always think like I'm kind of like an agent for lawyers anyway, and like their manager to help them get like speaking engagements, access to cases, build their brand. That's kind of
well, I mean, especially because attorneys listen to other attorneys, especially ones who have had success before, because my biggest challenge as an agency and a consultant is just beating back the bullshit that other agencies have laid for years and years and years, and it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of effort to break down those walls, because so many guys have been burned so many times before in the past. It's like mind blowing. And also, Bob, like lawyers that have been to law school for years sign these fucking contracts for 24 months and they're like, I can't get out of the contract. I'm like, why would you? You're a lawyer, man. Why did you sign that contract?
Like, lawyers don't read shit. Give me contracts. And I'll read every piece of evidence, every medical record for a trial, but I won't look at a 3-page contract.
It's mind blowing. And they get stuck in these contracts for years. Anyways, neither here nor there. So more in the content, right? You're producing volumes of content, right? You have a very high production.
Yeah, the production one.
High production, right? I'm assuming that probably came later, although I did see one that you have for like 3 years ago. So you've been doing that for a while, it seems like.
Yeah, and we probably started, I think.
I was on the YouTube channel. I just scrolled down to the bottom play. Saw one from 3 years ago. Either way, you're all over Instagram, right? Like, do you have a team? Like, how are you able to? Are you the one who's posting all this content? Are you clipping it or editing it? Like, how do you have your back end structure so you're able to get this much done?
So we do have a team. I use Outlier Creative Agency. That is our creative agency that we will brainstorm things, come up with topics, and I sit on chats with the one gal, Lori Douglas, who's a comedian, and she's one of the funniest people I know. We literally just scheme on ideas all day. Hey, we just shot this podcast. Let's cut up into this. Oh, this would be funny. We could do this. Or I was just on this talk show. Here's some stuff that we could grab. That's that vehicle. And then they place them for me. Well, a lot of stuff that's posted on my feed, I mean, it's probably 50-50 on the actual post. Sometimes it's just me doing it, generating and cutting it up. A lot of times it's the agency doing it, but I approve everything. Mm-hmm. Stories on my Instagram are almost always me, unless they're like reposts, but it's usually stuff I get in trouble for later because I'm pushing the envelope a little too much. But those are like my personal family stuff, which I think is funny to the day that we do. I have in-house now a VP of marketing at the firm, and we have a full-time producer for our media network, and they're responsible. The producer is, whenever we shoot a bunch of these buckets of content, she's the one that's actually, naming it, placing it where it needs to go everywhere, and then creating shorts or having another team create shorts. I use it as well, an AI platform called Get Munch AI, which will drop the long-form content in. It can help us predict the short-form ones that we could cut it up and use with, hashtags and all those other things. It's a tool that takes you 80%, that AI tool.
Yeah.
Lawyers. And I mean, if you just want to shoot about a bunch of content, do this 60-minute interviews, you can literally just drop it into that and it can help you for not that much of a high price tag. But you got to know where you're posting it, how you're posting it, and then you have to engage people. The DMs, like all my DMs are only me on every platform. I don't let anybody touch them, don't let anybody communicate with people that come in. I know we're working on some of my friends that have a huge social media presence that get inundated way more than I do. It's crazy, but we've worked a flow with them where they can get case referrals through their DMs directly into our marketplace because they're just inundated with people asking for help and questions. And it's just that's just something they can't do when you're getting 1,000 messages a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can do 30 or 40, but when it reaches that number, it's not able to be controlled.
So in terms of quantifying this, right? Again, if lawyers don't listen to me when I talk about this stuff. So you tell them, right? Like, how do you quantify an investment like this, right? Because when we're doing paid search or SEO, there's ways that we can look at data, conversion rates to quantify a potential return. But this is something that even though a law firm will go spend $100,000 here, I'm here in Miami, $100,000 a month on billboards here in Miami, that have their impact in the customer journey, but still are not a direct ROI investment, in my opinion, like a lot of other channels are. This is something that's new for them. It's uncomfortable. There's no direct ROI. How do you start to think about quantifying this? Because it's not only an investment in terms of either bringing in an agency or, maybe somebody in-house or an intern to help with the strategy and the editing and the posting, but also the time investment, right? And then also the ad investment too, because you're probably going to spend a little money to advertise this stuff as well. So like, how do you start to think through that process of the return on capital or return on time for an investment in content?
I mean, it's one of those things, if it's working, if it's not, and there's no way, like you said, to quantify, oh God, I spent 20 grand this month on XYZ. How many cases did I get in return for what exposure? And you can't think of it that way because it's also brand awareness. It's also top of mind. It's also that one person that saw you once may give you 10 to 15 cases, but 3 months from now, right? So, but you still have to be conscious of, about it. So whenever people engage with our stuff, we have like a retargeting program. So we'll continue to engage and they'll see our content. So maybe it doesn't convert month one if they saw it, but I don't know. I'm a big quality over quantity guy. Like if you have a dedicated group of folks that are watching your content all the time and they tell somebody else, it just takes one of those conversions as a lawyer to really crush. So don't be afraid. If you're investing in your personal brand and your personal content being invested in, it to me is probably the highest conversion you can put your money into now, more than real estate, more than cases, because it sits there and lives there forever, and it's you and you own it. And if somebody reaches out to you because they saw you, they trust you, right? Not a Google ad, not something else that's generic. They trust you, and that's because of your content. So I'm a big believer of that.
So if you were going to prioritize a list of initiatives or campaigns or tactics for lawyers to deploy, right? Obviously, you've told me that referrals and personal branding are at the top, right? So with that would be posting on content for organic social media, right? So like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, right? Those would be probably the main platform, and probably LinkedIn maybe too, right? Main platforms. What would you put next, right? If you're in a law firm that has budget to spend, would you go out of home with like billboards and radio? Would you go search? Would you go paid social? Where would you put your money?
If you build up your brand and stuff, I think paid social is probably the best way to do it after that. And one thing I'd put above all of these things is being in the right mentorship circles. If you're in the right circles of people that are pushing you in the right direction, could be lawyers, could be a lot of people that aren't lawyers that understand the industry. That's some of the most invaluable things that you can do, just being in the right room, because all these things are just free-flowing ideas that people can help you execute. But I think paid social, I think after you build your brand is the best. And again, you probably know it's very sophisticated how granular you can get on who you're targeting and why and geographically. But I think that's number 2 for me.
Yeah, actually, I have 3 companies that are operating. Between them, we spend over $250,000 a month on paid social ads. They drive
good.
Yeah, we crush it, dude.
Ooh.
The reason why we're able to do that is because of the video, man. It really is. So I have a similar, if you were to copy and paste your businesses to the agency space, I'm very similar. I have an agency. We only work with law firms, obviously, but we've been fortunate to do well here. And I'm a very type A systems process oriented person. I've basically taken those systems and then I created a community similar to yours for agencies, and that business is just blown up exponentially.
People within the same industries don't realize that if you're sharing, even though you have your own different businesses or different law firms, that's an accelerator growth that you can't even imagine. That's Justice HQ and it's highest level. You just put people in the room that are energized, have their own companies that all have the same issues, and some people have solved them in different ways. Oh my God, it's like a powdered keg of awesomeness.
Yeah, and that's what I found out too. I've been doing this for 15 years. I've been YouTubing for 15 years now, man. And what I found was that I was creating content to try and attract clients. And back then I was working with all sorts of clients, but I was mainly attracting other marketers and other agencies, and I wasn't monetized for them. And over time I realized that one, just like you working with other attorneys, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you probably enjoy working with other attorneys more than you enjoy working with clients, because you have the same day-to-day, same problems, same pain in the asses, and you've been through it, you've been successful, and you have a wealth of knowledge on it, just like I do in the agency space. So
Ryan, perfect example. I just got a text from somebody that put one of my podcasts, Justice Team podcast, best tips for picking a jury with Harry Plotkin, a show that he and I did. It got released recently, and this guy probably never met person from Indiana lawyer. Says probably just text me probably one of my favorites. Lots of great advice for practitioners here. Now, I've never met him individually, but he saw all of our shows, and now we work together. I've referred us for cases in Indiana. He's been referring me cases in California, and that's just through the power of digital networking and me doing shows that I think are fun or great or practical advice. And I come to learn the guy's like president of the Indiana trial bar there. It's just a great relationship that it would never come had I not put content out.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, just the lesson here is that like, just start, man. I mean, just start doing something, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it's targeted wrong. It doesn't matter if nobody watches it. It is very much just like running a business where like you got to fail forward. You just put one step, put in front of the other, keep walking. A year from now, you're going to be a completely different place than you were when you first started.
And people are like, what's the worst thing can happen? You do a selfie video or something and you get 10 views. Who gives a shit? Who cares?
I think, I mean, so look, I coach on this a lot with agencies too, and it's a limiting belief that a lot of us have, and also just the way that we've been wrapped by society in a culture that you think that people are judging you for it, when in reality they don't really care. And once you understand that, it opens up, I mean, it just opens up so much in life for you, man, just as a man.
And you got to pay attention. Like I do a lot of reels on Instagram, for instance. And when I started, again, it was a handful of views, 10, 20. I was like, oh my God, I got 100 views this time. And then, and I still get thousands of views on every post, but sometimes I'll get 100,000 views out of nowhere. It's like, why did that work? And then I'll go look and see how many times it was shared, right? And to get that kind of data and see, I try to find out who's sharing what. Sometimes I check their stories to see who shared it. If somebody shared one of your stories, this means, hey, that's maybe somebody you've never met before. You should start engaging them, like they're looking at your content. But I think cross-promotional stuff, like I have guests on all the time that are popular that we can work together. And then some stuff I thought would do really well has like 2,500 views, which is low for me. And I'm like, why did that not do well? And then I'll go back and maybe there was a reason, right? So whatever. It's all different, man.
So what would you say? So like I said, I mean, I've been doing this for a while. You've been doing this for a while too. You have seen 2009, the AdWords boom, right? When you could probably just go out and buy any ad that you wanted and get clients, the SEO boom, social boom. You've seen a lot since 2009 in terms of acquisition. Now you factor in AI to this, both operationally and marketing existentially, right? All these different things potentially usurping market share from attorneys, from people just getting advice from AI. What do you think is the biggest challenge though that lawyers face now and in the future from a business perspective?
So I think that we will see a big consolidation of a lot of big players coming together, but I think the best opportunities actually for the small and solo firms to be able to have an alliance together. That's why we created Just HQ and have the marketplace, so that, look, the lawyers that are going to do the best are ones that are very good at what they do, and everybody knows that they're very good at what they do. That's like the perfect recipe of being super successful. And sometimes you're really good at, as a lawyer, business development, case acquisition, and being known for that, and people will start hiring you to do that. Then you be able to refer other cases out to folks that are really good at what they do. But I do think that a lot of the pretenders are going to go away, because people, consumers, how the lawyers and who are referring you cases are getting more sophisticated. It's easier to see who's making the stuff up and who's for real, right? And I think that's the access to justice we're going to see. Is it's going to be fairly soon. It's going to be very easy to see who's going to get you the best result for that case with just analytics. And I've seen it coming to the horizon, and it's a beautiful thing. And I think everybody wins if that can happen.
So what does that look like then? Is that like a platform that consumers will be able to access, and just like a Google, but access to data that Google doesn't have access to, that just
correct
not results?
Yeah, not results. It's just like, you have, in the personal injury space, for instance, how often do we, everybody texts you every day, say, hey, I need a lawyer in, for instance, Indiana. Who's in Indiana that can handle like this product liability case? Sometimes you get a search of Rolodex, ask a few people. A lot of that's being automated right now, and a lot of people don't know this, but they're starting to get scored on their actual results. It's like, not only is this, I heard this person's a good lawyer, product liability, but here's 5 cases that somebody did similar to yours.
Yeah. Right.
And now all of a sudden the consumer can find that lawyer that can then find the other lawyer specialist, and everybody's able to win. Yeah. And I think that's where it's going to be very, very, very quickly here.
Well, it's interesting that you say that. So I don't know if you've been following everything that's been happening in Google the past 2 months, but essentially Google rolled out what they call AI answers. They're supposed to roll out a whole AI search engine that they scrapped because it was a crap product. But essentially, we're always testing different things, and ChatGPT is something that we're testing. ChatGPT, OpenAI actually inked a deal. They're going to be partnering with Siri, and because Siri's crap, right? So very soon, OpenAI is going to be in hardware, which is a big deal, right? It's going to change the way people search. It's going to make it a lot better. So anyway, so we're testing ChatGPT as a search engine. It's not what Google is for a lot of reasons, but it is connected to the internet. And what's cool about ChatGPT is you can ask it questions and it will give you answers, unlike Google, right? So we've been testing it more and more and more and asking for, I broke my neck in a car accident here in Miami. Can you recommend me 3 lawyers? And it will spit them out. It will cite their website, whatever you ask it to do. And we keep on asking questions to refine it. And those questions are, how did you come up with these 3 law firms? And it'll be like reviews and reputation. You just keep on asking, like, what specifically are you looking for in reviews? Where are you getting them from? Reputation? And the point I'm making is that, like, it's basically citing reviews and case results across the internet and aggregating it at like a reputation-based level almost, if that makes sense. And I think that's where a lot of search and discovery platforms are going. I think Google's going to lose a lot of market share to platforms like this, where search in itself is the entry point of the internet. So people will still using it, but it's going to be fractional how people use it. And it's going to be much more reputation-based. Go ahead.
Correct. Exactly. It's going to be sophisticated as the industry or space. It's almost like your internal LLM where it's just built on the data for that specific industry. And I think I've seen these platforms actually doing it. That's going to come out very soon for results for lawyers, like on real data, on their real settlements and verdicts, and not just, I have 3,000 Google reviews that I probably paid for $29.999 of them, right? That are fake. These are actual real results of cases. And I think that's where, again, the access to justice, the consumer is going to win when it actually happens. So,
yeah. And once that data is crawlable or accessible to all these LLMs, it'd be interesting, which kind of ties a bow in this entire conversation, which brings us back to the initial point, which you said was reputation, right? And brand. And that's why, to me, it's really, really important that you start now, because what ends up happening in all this stuff, just like these lawyers that come to us and like, I want to do SEO now. And I'm like, it's too late, bro. Like, you missed the boat. Like, I can't, it's just, you missed the boat. I can't help you. Like, you're entrenched. Like you're in Miami and you're trying to beat out Morgan & Morgan and Rubenstein. Like, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You got to seek other avenues, and this is it. And the things that you don't want to hear are often the things that you should be doing. And the reason why you don't want to do it is because it's hard, and it's hard for a reason, because not everyone's going to do it. Not everyone wants to do it. But if you start now, I promise you, it's going to have a massive impact.
Yeah. And you could also crawl before you walk. You can work with agencies like yours where you can start to build that foundation, and maybe, you're posting some stuff on YouTube or help building you out those channels, and then it can grow exponentially. Then you're starting to do a spend with that agency, right? Then it continues to grow. But I think you should be, again, in the circles with the people that know what they're talking about. And those should involve people that are running an agency because they know what's going on the back end. And then with lawyers that are creating these good content that have been there. I mean, look, there's growing pains. Like, I've done shit that failed many times. But fail forward, as you said, which I'm stealing. I'm fucking stealing.
Please thank you. I mean, the good thing about failing with content too is that when you fail, it just means that nobody sees it, right? Unless you say something egregious that offends people. But like, like if you fail, no one sees it, and if no one sees it, then who cares? That's kind of the crux of it here. So, all right, Bob, I appreciate your time, man. Is there anything else that we didn't talk about that you think is important that you?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, the video games I forgot. So we have one called Rabble, which is like automating Dungeons and Dragons and taking the bullshit out of it, so you can play the game faster and storytell and do stuff with your friends. But I'm big on community building, whether you're playing Dungeons and Dragons and literally dungeon crawling and storytelling, or if you're going into like Wyoming on a trial lawyer course to like find out to be a better you, or doing these masterminds. I mean, there's no better place to spark ideas, creativity, than to put yourself in a circle with other folks and build those networks. So I agree with that. I get the level up, MFers, level up. I get those ads for the trial lawyers in Miami too. It looks freaking, I don't know if you go to that, but it looks insane. I don't got 3 weeks, bro. I feel you. All right, Bob, man, I appreciate it. So why don't you just give a plug? I got 5 things written down. Plug the best thing for lawyers to find you at. So that's right. I actually put right here, @PlanetFunBob. If you go to my handle, @PlanetFunBob on Instagram, and just DM me, and I can, literally, lawyers reach out all the time every day, and I will get on the phone if I'm not in trial or really busy and just, hey man, what's going on with you? How can I help you? And like, I've had lawyers I've never met before. We were talking about this morning with my siblings. Probably hundreds of lawyers have started their own firm just by reaching out to me and just giving some light guidance, and then putting them in touch with the folks they need to be in the circles. I had a guy from Miami actually reach out to me today that he settled 2 7-figure cases this year. He went out on his own last year because I was pushing him to do it. He's like, dude, thank you so much. This changed my life. And I never met the guy, in person anyway, but I feel like I know him.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate your time, Bob.
All right, brother. Thanks, Ryan.